All right, good afternoon. We're going to give everybody just a couple seconds to get joined up here. All right, well, it looks like we have a handful of really fun folks with us here today. So I'm Danielle Casey. I'm the president and CEO with AED Incorporated, Albuquerque Economic Development. And today's going to be very ad hoc, impromptu, casual, fun. So I hope you brought your, your happy hats along with you, and definitely please play along. We'll be as interactive as possible. We want to make this a fun training program and really just kind of going through some opportunities. We're going to have some great conversations here with Wendy and I. So little bit of housekeeping. If you have technical issues or general questions, chat function is there for you all day long. Wendy and I will be keeping an eye on it, but we also have the wonderful Elena Phillips on our team who's going to be monitoring that as well. So she's here to help facilitate. She's our technical guru. If you have there's Elena, say hi. All right. If you have a question for any of us, really use the Q&A tool if you want to make sure we answer it. That way it kind of flags in our thread as a formal question that you want answered, as opposed to maybe just a comment or a communication. So we'll get to as many as we can. And if there's any questions that we need clarity on, just be ready, because we might promote you up to presenter and put you on screen so you can chat with us, but we'll see how that goes. So we're thrilled today to be hosting a repeat training session on a brand new tool that is hosted on the AED website. And this is, again, a free resource for businesses and business support professionals around the region. That's kind of why we've called this Train the Trainer. We want to help people learn how to use this and then help others. Because as a small team at AED, we can't possibly help every business one-on-one in the region, but between us and all the amazing other organizations out there, we think that that's possible. So anyway, this tool has been made possible, by the way, by the Albuquerque Forward Fund, which has in turn been supported by generous donors. So I want to definitely give it that recognition. The Forward Fund is actually a C3 nonprofit, and its mission is to educate employers and connect them to the resources they need in order to innovate, expand, and thrive. It empowers the region by conducting and publishing research on the region's workforce, employment data, industry trends, and economic outlook. And in tune of all of that, it therefore expands the mission of AED. So we're so thankful. This tool is really exactly the type of resource and service that the Forward Fund was designed to deliver in the first place, resources that empower the business community. And of course, there is no time more critical to do this than as we begin to look toward what's the next new normal. I mean, is anybody else sick of that phrase, by the way? I'm just like, it's just life. But although I can say I really hope the next new normal is not the amount of Zoom calls we've been doing in recent history. It is just mind-blowing and mind-numbing. So again, we're kind of trying to get a little fun today. But again, as people try to recover and reset and businesses changed, it is a reality. So SizeUp is for, again, anyone that can type in a web address and access it on our website. And the amazing data analysis tools that we're going to walk you through today are comparative analysis for companies. So you can see how you rank in relation to others in your industry. Are you performing on average, or is your conceptual business endeavor performing on average or above or below competitors? It gives you data that helps identify targeted customers. So there's really, really compelling and interesting information to figure out where there are top sales or where maybe there's a lack of service in an area. We'll get to that later. And you can also identify some local suppliers or even competitors to get a sense of what the landscape looks like out there. And then again, there's even ways to figure out good places to advertise based on all kinds of different dynamics. So when I said that this program was a repeat, that's mostly true. In our last program, which you can actually find on our website on the recording, and you can view, our last program actually had the vendor and an owner and designer of the program talking. So he's clearly an existential expert on how the data works. So you can always go back and review that if you want a really, really in-depth technical view of it, or if you have questions, again, always send us a note. But today's chat has a new featured guest. She is amazing. I'm a huge fan, and she is a very integral part to what we're doing here at AED. She's going to talk a little more about the services offered in the community to support existing business, and a little bit about the success stories along the way. And then her and I are just going to literally wing it and play it by ear and get into a live demonstration example of how this information can be leveraged. So wish us luck. But before that, Wendy Ederer is the owner of Cornerstone Consulting Associates, LLC. She's actually been consulting with AED's existing business team for more than 5 years. She's going to tell you about the rest of the team in a minute. And she applies her background as the owner of 2 successful Albuquerque-based businesses, the founder and statewide program manager of the New Mexico Procurement Technical Assistance Center. I'm not saying that again. That's too many words. I'm going to get tongue twisted. She's the founder and leader of the Dynamic Growth Business Resource Center and the founder of the Women Leaders Roundtable, as well as 25 years of providing business consulting services. So with that, welcome, Wendy. Thanks for going through this experiment with me today, and we'd love you to make your comments.
Well, thank you, Danielle. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome everybody. I'm going to start off by just talking a little bit more about AED's existing business team. The program was started about 20 years ago by Bob Walton, who is still the lead of the program. In addition, we've got Dennis Houston, who's also on the team. And he's been there, I think about 17, 18 years now. I'm the newbie at just a little over 5 years. The existing business team's purpose is to help our existing businesses here in the metro area. And we do that by focusing on 4 key areas. The first is sharing the state and federal incentive and tax credit programs. The other is to connect businesses to our over 30 local resource partners. These are local organizations that also support businesses. The third way that we support our clients is through connecting them to a variety of finance options. And Dennis Houston, who is on our team, is our finance expert. He sits on the state's accounts board. He's a CFO. Amazing individual. And so we tap into Dennis's expertise on a regular basis. The other thing that we do really well is business to business connections. And so we've got a vast network of businesses in pretty much every industry sector in the metro area that we can connect businesses to so that they can do business locally and not be sourcing products from outside of the state, or just to connect to provide compatible services. Our Bob, our leader, Bob Walton's background is, I don't know how many decades, Bob, you can refresh my memory, but it's been decades of setting up and managing manufacturing plants all over the world. And so we've got a pretty amazing team of experts that can help any type of business that's in the metro area. We're real proud of this program. Over the years that it's been operable, the successes and the results are pretty astronomical. And we connect a lot of businesses to the state job training incentive program, the federal Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and a host of other tax credits that are specially designed for manufacturers. And so please consider us your one-stop shop for any of your business needs, and we will make those connections and we will roll up our sleeves and help you ourselves. As Bob always says, we've got something for every business. Wow, that was quite a dissertation, wasn't it, Danielle? I don't even know how to go on from there.
Oh, but it's wonderful. And I think it's important for people to understand and see that, while AED is a small shop, we have really long tentacles and really amazing people out there ready and willing to help with tremendous experience. So we're very thankful. Wendy, do you have some examples of specific companies and how you've helped them maybe in the past? Any little case studies you want to share that you're particularly excited about?
Oh gosh, yes. There's so many, I don't even know how to choose, but just recently, we've been working with a major employer here in town that's engaging in about a $25 million expansion. So this is going to be an additional facility, hiring a lot of folks, creating a lot of new jobs. We also work with smaller companies that are also in an expansion mode, small food manufacturers that are gaining additional facility space and hiring folks and pursuing the state LEDA program, pursuing industrial revenue bonds, and utilizing all of the programs, which are extremely advantageous for the business owners. The cost savings are amazing. So we help folks that are at the startup phase, as well as folks that are extremely well established and continue to grow. We help folks get connected to start selling their products internationally. And we team with Randy Trask of the New Mexico Trade Alliance to do that. And pretty much anything a business needs, we will roll up our sleeves and help them to achieve. Sometimes they like to come to our meetings and just have us bounce ideas. And we really love that because, with Bob coming from manufacturing and Dennis coming from finance and myself coming from business ownership, business consulting, government contracting expertise, there's really so many ideas that get tossed and it's a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. Wendy, I think, well, a couple of things, that these are perfect cases in point as well for, just last week, there were announcements for Bueno Foods and Affordable Solar, both local business expansion projects that we assisted on the existing business side, on the AED side. Really, multiple members of our team were all involved. The state was involved. The local jurisdictions were involved. It takes a village, right, to help these companies.
Absolutely.
And so if anybody didn't see those announcements, we also have them on our website, in the news section, which is fantastic. So those are great examples. And I'll tell you, through my experience as an economic developer through my career, it's a little story I love to tell. So I've worked on the rural side, I've worked on the urban side, I've worked within regional economic development organizations and at the local jurisdiction level. And everyone loves the big, sexy whale, right? I mean, as sexy as a whale is, but when a whale is a big announcement, it's 800 jobs, it's something great. Everyone loves that. It's great. It's celebratory. But I'll tell you, some of the, on the flip side, what's amazing as an economic developer, some of the most rewarding projects I've ever worked on were retention projects where people really wanted to stay in the community but needed help. I had one firm that I assisted because the local CEO reached out and said, we've been acquired by a parent company. There's 10 locations across the US. They could easily absorb us in any of those. We need your help making the case and keeping us here. And these are, 6-figure technology jobs. And we worked very closely with them and got them to stay. But one of the ones I'm the most proud of really in my heart is my first economic development job in a local rural community. I had no idea what I was doing. But I hired really amazing professionals similar to you, and we had them do small business training programs and coach up businesses. And we had one small business that was trying to do kind of a storefront, I forget the name of it, but this was 15 years ago, where you would go in and you would meal prep there and then go home and make the meals. It was kind of the precursor to a home chef, because you went and prepped it yourself, and it failed. And this woman was amazing. And she came to our business training class and she was committed to doing something. And they ended up, after all of that and the coaching that we were able to bring in, they launched a catering business, and they found different, different kitchens they could work in. Fast forward a couple decades later, they're one of the most successful caterers in that whole region. And I'm still Facebook friends with the owner, and she still pings me and tags me all the time when they have a really great announcement, or they're, catering an 800-person wedding. And it just warms my heart to no extent. So, economic developers out there, businesses out there, please know that, even though the big ones get celebration, that any business that's successful, where we know that we've had an impact on somebody sending their kid to college or paying their mortgage, or giving back to the economy and the community, is just tremendous. So yeah, that's one of my favorites out there. So her name is Sue. Anyway, so cool. So let's get into it. Wendy, I know you've actually got a couple of ideas for examples for businesses that we're going to demo, right? So to make
I do.
Cool. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to get ready to share this screen right now, because Elena is our tech guru. You can follow along with us. I'm getting ready to share the interface, but if you want to use your phone and be able to follow along with this on your phone or an iPad, if you hold your camera up to this little orange square there in the top left corner of the demo page, just hold your camera up to that and it'll take your browser straight to the web page where all this information is. So that's just a fun little trick that we've got. And with that, I'm going to steal your screen, Elena, and I'm going to share mine over here and show everybody the SizeUp tool. So hopefully all of our participants can see this page here. If anybody can't, again, that's what the chat is for. Feel free to drop a note in there and let us know what's going on if you're having issues. And so just to get started, again, this is what the web page looks like. I've just full screened it and gotten rid of the browser heading so you can see a little more. And if you guys see me looking to the left, I'm not watching TV, I'm watching my dual screen. So as you see the page, first of all, thanks to the Forward Fund, when I mentioned the training program from last time, there's a nice link here to our YouTube page. So if you want to see our previous training program, click here. And after today, we'll post this one up there as well. So if you want to be, on video and forever, captured in this, you can make a comment in the chat or something that we'll read loud. But with that, Wendy, so when you get to the SizeUp page, you'll find information here. And then this is actually the tool right in the middle of the page in this little blue block. So what you'll first do is you're going to put in whatever kind of business you either own and operate, or you're thinking about owning and operating. Again, this is all conceptual. You'll see what we mean. And then you can pick any location in our 4-county region. So Wendy, I've kind of got something loaded up here. Do you want me to change this? What do you think?
I think it's great. And if I can give a little bit of background on this, Danielle.
Yes.
So once I started playing, just for everyone, once I started playing with the SizeUp tool, I thought my head was going to blow up because, gosh, it is an incredible tool for our businesses here. Just unbelievable. And in the past week, I've sent 3 businesses to the SizeUp tool. So we can start with the comic book store. I also talked with an owner of an artisanal tea manufacturing, and also a couple that are purchasing a CrossFit gym and thinking of relocating it. They don't know where. And so SizeUp is perfect for all of their needs. With the artisanal tea company, the owner did not really have a sense of the competition fully. And it doesn't have to be the competition in right here in Albuquerque, because he's going to be shipping product all over the nation, all over the world. He's a manufacturer that blends the teas, packages, and sells them. So what I needed him to do, there's the business consultant coming out, I needed him to get a little more research done. because he really wasn't aware of his own value propositions, the things that make him different and better from his competition. And the first place to start is, who are your competitors? What are they doing, so that you can identify what makes you great and have that be part of your branding. And so the artisanal tea company was one of them. If we want to start with the comic book store, this is a gentleman who is a retired executive that came back to New Mexico. His dream is to own a comic book store, which I think is really fun. And so he's like, Wendy, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to locate it. I don't know anything. And I said, well, we've got a tool that's going to tell you everything. And you need to be armed with that information in order to make informed decisions about your business, especially prior to it making a huge financial investment.
All
So,
day long.
yes.
When I used to watch our trainers and participate in small business training programs, a lot of times, and what they would tell me is, they said sometimes the help we've done is told somebody why not to start that business, or help them completely pivot to a new concept, which is really exciting. So great. So you all saw me put in comic book stores, and I just picked Rio Rancho as part of the region. If at any point when you're working this tool, you can change the industry you're looking at just through this link, or you can change the location that you're looking at. So we're going to go through a couple different tabs today. And Wendy and I, as you can tell, are going to tag team. This is fun, Wendy. I feel like we need a talk show. Right?
Sure.
So we're going to go through a few different things, and we can toggle between these different business concepts as well. But just to show everyone the power of the data, we're going to go over comparing the business to competitors. We're going to look at those competitors, maybe suppliers. We're going to think about the advertising implications, and then also knowing who's in your area and what the demographics of, your potential, of the people in the area and who's buying what is also a really, really key and exciting component. So with this, Wendy, do you have a guess? So if anybody's using this, if you don't have a business, you can throw any number in here and get a wild guess. Or if you already know what your business is doing, you can put it in here. So do you think 400,000 is a reasonable guess on this?
That might be a little high for a first year.
Right.
I think I would probably, I think I'd go for 150, 200.
Great. All right, we're going to go for 200 and see how this stacks up. All right. So what this information is showing you is, if your business is making 200,000, you're kind of low, but good point, Wendy. First year, you've also got to realize ramp up time, and it's going to take a while to get to that, kind of stabilized operation, right?
Right.
But what's really neat here, and make sure you keep an eye on the left, we do have some communities that have the same name as counties and vice versa. So know that you will always see the area you're searching, and then the metro area, the state, and then the nation in comparison. Now, if you try to search an area that's too small, it may start you off with county level data. So just be aware of that as you're using the tool. So what this is telling us is the way it stacks up. It looks like, in the Albuquerque metro, similar types of businesses have an annual revenue of about a little over 400,000, which is really interesting. And that's a little bit lower than the national average for that, but higher than the state. So again, really quick data that you can pull in and learn about. So that'll tell you about that revenue. And then you can zoom out a little bit to see kind of a heat map on some of those things as well. All right. And what's really great about the tool that I like to share with everybody, if you're looking at this and, like you said, Wendy, a little overwhelmed, because it's been overwhelming to me. There's so much data in here. It's really great about telling you the considerations. It helps you think about how to think about the data. So you can click on here and go, okay, well, if I'm a startup, how do I use this data? And it says, all right, if you're a startup, this is how you want to use this to assess performance. And you may want to use the competitor map to identify who your strongest local competitors and partners might be. So you can pick that in. Now you can start also matching up and looking at how you fit in your industry in a lot of different ways. So what do we think I don't know, a comic book store, do they have maybe like 4 employees? And Wendy, I have 0. This is not even an educated guess, but I'm going to take a stab at it. All right. Oh, it looks like maybe I'm a little bit optimistic there. So maybe it's 3 people running this shop. Wow, that was perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, very interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's greater than or equal to 29% of the businesses in the metro. So this gives you a really good comparison about what you can expect you're going to need to hire to run a business like this. And then the other thing is I'm wondering, what we're paying employees that are running a comic book store. And this would be an annual salary. I'm
You know
gonna
what? Yeah, I would think that's about right.
Interesting. Well, it looks like I went a little high because it's telling me that the average salary for workers for bookstores, comic book stores is about 19.6. So that's really good to know, because certainly we want to pay people well, but we also want to keep our books operational and understand that we're being competitive with others in the region. So really good to know. So right now, I think you all can see how all of this can directly go into your business plan and your financial projections very, very quickly. So again, employees, and you can even look at other things in terms of the community, and you can keep rolling through all of this really wonderful data. You can look at your cost effectiveness and revenue per capita. And then some of the other ones that are pretty interesting down here, also even local turnover. So if you are a business that's been operating for a couple of years and you are concerned or wondering if your turnover rate is consistent in the industry, this will help you understand that. So you can go, boy, I only have 3 employees, but gosh, those have changed twice in the last year. That might be normal for your industry. It may not. So it's really good to understand that and have a sense of what's going on. If you have much higher than normal turnover, you can figure out whether that is that's something that's going on in the environment or the region, or maybe it's something about, maybe you need to think about the benefits you're offering your employees or the flexibility you're offering them. Is there something going on? So you may have to have that little chat with them and find out what's going on. You can even look at things like healthcare costs and workers' comp as well. So with that, that's kind of a quick dive into the business information in there. Anything else we want to look at on my business, or how about if we roll into competition, Wendy, so we can get through all these tabs?
Yes, please.
Cool. All right. So again, this is the competitor map, and what it's showing you are different opportunities for competitors in the region. What's really cool is you can also, if you know a specific business, so if you're a coffee shop and you want to figure out where all the darn Starbucks are, you can do that. You can put Starbucks in there and you can figure it out. What this is giving you right here is a really interesting list of all the businesses that might compete with you. So, Wendy, I'd love any thoughts here, but what I'm thinking about is I'm going, okay, well, that's up in Santa Fe. Oh, wait. And again, you can zoom in and out on all of these things. I'm not really seeing anybody in the South Valley. I'm not seeing anybody, further north, but maybe there's an opportunity for something over here up, in this corner of the region. Maybe there's some other opportunities elsewhere, because there seem to be a little so I'm honestly, I don't know that I want to locate right here unless my plan is to go head to head with this competitor and do that McDonald's Burger King kind of thing, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, this is an ideal tool for giving you a snapshot of where people are physically located so that you can cross those areas off of your list of places to go look. Absolutely. And yeah, I think this saves a lot of legwork, research, hunting things down. It's just right there.
Absolutely. Right. For sure. So, another business if you're trying to look for this, you might go on Google, you might have to search companies like that. It probably wouldn't filter it in a way that made a lot of sense to you. So there are different ways you could find this data, but the way this is packaged and also layered up is really important. The cool thing that you could do, if you said, okay, great, these are my competitors, but I want to add industries. Who else might sell books or have a comic book, competition? I don't know. Goodness. but again, you could look and layer in industries. So you can look at competitors, customers, or suppliers. So one of the other ones that you could do is you could look at potential customers or ad industries and go, okay, there's comic books, but I don't know, maybe you do want to be near a coffee shop, right? I don't know.
Good point. That's a great point.
So let's just say I'm a comic book guy, and I know that a lot of these folks also go to breweries. Let's see, I'm typing too fast. So brew pubs. Okay, great. So I want my comic book store, and I also want to think about brew pubs and how that works, right? You can also pull those in there and start triangulating and seeing again, who is in the region. Now, what you're going to see is these are going to start to layer up. So your little red dots, again, are your competitors, but the potential customers. So maybe the brewery wants to have a comic book rack in the front. And I'm reaching a little bit here because I don't know a lot about the comic book industry, but let's just, again, you can see how to apply this in a lot of different ways. So again, you can start to layer these up, and it's going to give you really great information where you can pick and choose and go, awesome. You know what I see right up in this area? I see breweries and no other comic book stores. Maybe this is a really cool location where I want to think about some of these intersections or look at some of the shopping centers up on Paseo. So again, and then you can look at all of these guys and see what their details are and keep layering in. You could layer in businesses and industry literally until the cows come home and really start looking at all of this data all day long. And, you could also kind of look up here at Santa Fe as well, which is interesting that we're getting that data. So again, the other thing you may want to look at is suppliers. So if there's anything, maybe you need display racks, and I'm just really making a guess. Usually if you just start typing things in and thinking about it, what's great is it's very intuitive in terms of the categories. So let's see, we don't need that, but maybe it's an exhibit. Services, promoters of shows. Let's say we're going to see if there's anybody here who can help us host a comic book convention in our little store. Or maybe we're in a shopping center and we want to have a little mini convention or expo in the parking lot, which sounds actually really fun.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, there you go. See, I'm adding value already. So very cool. So right here, we've got exhibit trade show marketing experts at Exhibit. And I'll tell you, these guys are really cool. They're also an AED member and investor. So thank you, Exhibit. They help us out quite a bit. So I can vouch for them. So they're right there. So here's another fun way of finding information and layering in data. So again, you can always X those guys out or look at your different lists as well. So hopefully that's kind of a fun way where you can start thinking about it, and really you can get as much in here as your creative juices allow you to flow through. So let's see. And again, when you think about this, one of the examples that we use a lot, because it's a pretty intuitive one, is when you think about your tea company, right? They're going to need restaurant supplies. They're going to need things like that. That's where you start looking for suppliers in the local market. Who can you work with locally that can provide those goods and services? So you can in turn support other businesses, avoid transportation costs, don't buy it online and have it shipped if you can work with a local vendor, all of those reasons. So let's now think about the advertising. All right, Wendy. So what do we want to, how do you think we would want to try to triangulate some targets for areas to advertise? Let's think about this. These are a lot of options that we have here. So do we want to think about underserved markets maybe?
Let's try it.
All right, let's try it. So the most underserved markets in that, let's see. And here's the cool thing. You can toggle these filters as well. So if we want to go, let's go, how far do we think somebody will drive to go to a comic book store? I don't know if they'd go 119 miles. But
no, I don't think so.
Let's say they'd go 50?
Possibly.
I mean, if they're really, committed to collection, which many are, right?
Sure.
So let's say we also want to look at places where, revenue. So again, you could toggle all of these things if you wanted to. So what this is spitting out for you is information on where the sales are in general in these zip codes for your industry. So those are the most underserved markets. And again, you can always change this too. While it's still giving you data for the region, know that you can be Los Lunas, maybe if I spelled it right, sorry guys. So again, you can look at it in the perspective of if you're coming from Los Lunas, so that way when you're thinking about distance and radius, all of that's going to be considered, right? So you get a little bit more information there, and then we're looking at the entire market. Even Farmington comes in, and you see some data for Farmington as well. Now, one thing I do want to point out, you'll see throughout these different pages and tabs. So let's see if we went back to the competitor piece. You can export some stuff. Well, I don't have data in there right now, so I'm going to go back to the advertising. What's kind of cool is you can print this report. So what's neat is you see this page that says, let's have a title for this report, and you can type that in and hit OK, and it's going to download a little PDF document for you. So when you think about all these different pages and information you're pulling out of SizeUp, how cool is that a business can just print out a little PDF report, plop that right into your business plan, and have that information. And by the way, if anybody sees this little sign-in tool, not necessary, obviously, to get any of this data. The benefit for the sign-in tool is if you're hardcore heavy doing your research and you do sign in, it'll save your search parameters from your previous session for you. So maybe you don't have to start over from scratch. So that's just a nice little tool. We do not share that information. We don't capture it. We don't use it for any sales. We don't give it to anybody. So that's a personal tool for you. So again, we've talked a little bit about the advertising. There's also revenue per capita and average revenue, so different things. So let's look at one other thing. Let's say on a household income basis, right? I want to find people. So I'm kind of going, you know what? My comic books are really high-end comic books. I've got really, really choice collections. These are premium collections. This is not for the faint of heart. This is for the investor and the avid collector, okay? It's not comic books, but my little cousins are so into Star Wars. And I went to visit them in Texas last summer, and I definitely dropped some coin getting, oh, I'll give you a collectible for your birthday. Let's go. And we ended up at this really obscure Star Wars shop. And, you know, I thought I was investing in their college fund, but you know, those things. But again, let's just say we want to look at annual revenue so household income. And then annual revenue, again, you can look at all these different demographic characteristics. So what I want to look at on household income is I want to go at least 100,000 in household income. So what that's going to show me now is, it should be, let's see, I think I have to hit enter or something. All right. And then we want to look at the map on that. So it should be showing me these things. Let me see. This is also operator error, guys. So be aware that when you're going through this, it's only as good as I am in terms of operating this system. All right, so let's see how I get it to pop up. All right, there we go. Okay, so what it's showing me now are areas with higher household income averages. And so this is going to be interesting. So again, if you're really looking at your high-end folks, this is going to tell you a little bit about the income in that community. And we're looking at that map so we can get a sense of if we are really, really focused on folks in a certain area with certain incomes, maybe we want to look at this zip code in 87111, and maybe that's where we want to do a little direct mail or a circular. So again, pretty general information, but that'll tell you a little bit about that. And also there's a lot of B2B implications there as well. So finally, the last thing you can really look at are your demographics, and you can do this from city, county, or metro level, which is really cool. And then you can also look at different expenditures. So a really nice thing that you could do is I just want to look at consumer expenditures, and I want to look at the whole metro, and I want to check this out. So I'm going to look at, again, within a boundary. And so the other thing you can do, so we're doing it right now for a place. And obviously we're going to need to, we would need to zoom in if we wanted to look closer in here into the neighborhood. But what this is going to give us is you can actually look at, this is really cool data, right? So in the metro, again, this is of the whole area that you're looking at that you've defined, you can see consumer expenditures in anything you want. Wow. So, you know, if you are looking at, and then you can toggle them on and off. So again, if I want to look at what we're spending on books and supplies, maybe what we're spending on video. I don't know. Do folks that are into comic books, are they also big gamers? maybe. So you can look at all,
yeah.
and food at home and maybe beer, you know, so, but anyway, you can toggle all of these things and you can pick what you want to look at. And then again, you can create a report for that that'll export out for you. One of the other things I do like as well is within a boundary, you can actually draw. So let's say I want to know what these folks are spending from a consumer expenditure standpoint, but I want to dig into it, but I want to draw just maybe this part of the area, kind of those things that we already identified earlier, right? All right, so we're going to create this selection. All right, so you're going to get data demographic analysis of the custom geographic layer. And again, these are all grouped by different categories where you can understand the population, age distribution, get a sense, all right, is this a good area or a bad area? Because maybe it doesn't hit my demographic profile in terms of age distribution. Maybe I need younger people, or maybe again, I'm looking for those older avid collectors. Beth put a note in saying it is amazing. Beth Barella, thank you. I'm glad you think that that is amazing. That pleases me to no end. So again, as you guys can imagine, you could go down a rabbit hole. Like, to me, this is akin to watching YouTube shows, and all of a sudden you're watching something that has zero to do with what you started with. I've been obsessed lately with a girl who puts on makeup while she tells murder mystery stories. And the hours I've wasted on that are nothing in comparison to what I could do with this data set. So again, what's really cool here too is you could download this PDF. I don't know if you guys see where the report showed up in the bottom left, because I'm just sharing my my Google screen right now. But again, you can pull up that PDF report and then have it there at your disposal. So again, this is just a teaser. We're almost at time today, so I wanted to see Wendy. And we just got through one company, right? But you know, it was probably easier to stick with one. What else are we missing, Wendy? What else do we want to talk about? And does anybody have any questions? And I appreciate those following along.
One thing that has, you know, and I'm not as adept at the tool as you are, so I'm riveted, probably just like everybody else. And what's going through my mind, Danielle, is, of course, I'm always coming from a marketing branding perspective. Imagine the comic book store uses a tool to purposely position the business in a certain area around certain types of businesses. Then the business owner goes to these other businesses, they can start co-branding.
Exactly.
They can all be promoting each other, and they can be looking at how to promote this into areas that maybe have a low saturation of these types of stores, or this combination of stores, so that they can be bringing folks in from outside of the area. And it'll help them understand what geographic areas to target for that. Because let's say out in Belen, a comic book store may not exist. I don't know for sure, but I'm just using it as an example. And maybe for sure one doesn't exist with this combination of two other stores that really complement each other. That might be an opportunity to co-advertise and just bring people to that area as a destination.
I love it. I love it. No, that's exactly it. We want to think in a really creative way. Now, one thing you'll see when you mention Belen, so just another great example, right? I plugged in Belen because they're in our metro, and so their information shows up. And the map, if there's nothing in that local jurisdiction that you type in, it'll just show you the entire search area. So again, you don't see anything pop up there, which means there isn't one. But you could always zoom in on that area and start looking at competition and demographics and all of those things to figure out. And that's a great point, Wendy. Is there a market to support it there? You know, would people come from a far enough distance? Does that make sense? And again, you can apply this to really, you know, any industry opportunity out there. And we do have a question, Dave, for businesses that are based in ABQ, but sell to visitors who travel here from other cities or states, is it possible to use the tool for other cities? That is a great question. And here's the little trick. So we purchased the data for our market, but I believe, and this is where I'm going to be tagging into and maybe even do a little bit of a follow-up with our vendor. But I do believe if you look at your competitor industries, see how those start to pop up when you zoom out? So there you go. You can actually check that out and you can start pulling out in terms of those competitors. And what's amazing to me, we're not seeing a lot of, specific comic book stores in those industries, which is pretty interesting and cool, because we're looking at direct competitors there. Yeah. So for some reason, it's a thing in Oklahoma though, right? So I'll have to find out what's going on up there. And maybe there's not a lot of other entertainment going on. I'm surprised there's not more in Arizona, but I wonder, again, if you continue to do that. So theoretically, yes, you can. So Dave, we encourage you to keep exploring that. And if you do have a specific case on this, reach out to Wendy, reach out to us, reach out to our existing business team for help on this. And if it's something that, we're still learning this tool as well, that's why we have great partners in the vendor who's actually designed this, and we can ask them for information and assistance on that as well. So with that, I believe we are at time right now. So I like to do 45-minute programs because for me personally and those watching, boy, is it nice to have just a stand up and stretch and maybe a little facilities break that the Zoom world doesn't let us have lately. So I really appreciate everyone. Wendy, thank you for partnering with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for including me on this. I'm a little excited.
Yeah. As I mentioned, we may have to start the Wendy and Danielle show. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking about it. So I'll just ask everybody, again, thanks to the Forward Fund for this. We're going to add the recording of the program today to that page that you saw. And it'll be online on our events page. We are holding another one of these little play around sessions. I'm gonna pick on some of my economic development team members at AED as well to help me next time. So check out abq.org/events. Also, another QR code. So if you want to figure out that event or other upcoming events that we have that are super cool, we've got a great program coming up May 13. It's a joint report with us and CBRE, all about talent and local industry information that we're going to use to market the region on a national platform. So you won't want to miss that one. So take a look at that. If you're an organization that supports businesses in the community, I really encourage you and ask you as a favor, but also as a resource we want to offer you, please think about adding a link to abq.org/SizeUp to your website. Tweet it out, tag us if you enjoyed this today, repost this. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. And we hope to see you on SizeUp soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.